The crisp October morning air carried the sound of sneakers squeaking against the polished gymnasium floor at Lincoln High School in Denver, Colorado. Maya Chen adjusted her white cane against the bleachers and listened intently to the rhythmic bounce of basketballs and the sharp whistle of Coach Rodriguez directing the varsity team through their morning practice. "You know you can't just sit there every day watching practice, right?" The voice belonged to Jessica Martinez, the current team captain, whose tone dripped with barely concealed irritation. "This isn't some charity case where we let anyone join." Maya turned her head toward Jessica's voice, her dark eyes focusing on a point just beyond where Jessica stood. "I'm not here for charity. I'm here because I want to try out for the team." The gymnasium fell silent except for the low hum of the heating system. Even Coach Rodriguez stopped mid-sentence, her whistle hanging uselessly around her neck. "You want to what?" Jessica's laugh was sharp and cutting. "Maya, I don't mean to be cruel, but this is basketball. You can't even see the hoop." "I can hear it," Maya replied calmly, though her knuckles whitened as she gripped her cane tighter. "I can hear the rim when the ball hits it, the swish of the net, the bounce patterns on different parts of the court. I've been listening to this game my entire life." The other girls began to whisper among themselves. Maya caught fragments of their conversations. "Is she serious? That's impossible. Someone should tell her this isn't going to work." Coach Rodriguez, a former WNBA player who had coached at Lincoln for 8 years, approached Maya with measured steps. "Maya, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but basketball is a visual sport. The liability alone. Coach, with all due respect, you don't know what I'm capable of because you've never given me a chance." Maya stood up, her 5'7" frame straightening with determination. "I'm not asking for special treatment. I'm asking for the same opportunity every other student gets to try out." Jessica crossed her arms, her championship ring from last year's state tournament catching the fluorescent lights. "This is ridiculous. We have regionals coming up, and we can't afford to waste time on someone's impossible dream." The word stung, but Maya had heard worse. She'd been dealing with doubt and dismissal since losing her sight in a car accident when she was 12. The same accident that had killed her parents and left her in the care of her grandmother, who had taught her that limitations were often just other people's fears projected onto you. "I'll make you a deal," Maya said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "Give me 2 weeks. 2 weeks to prove I can contribute to this team. If I can't, I'll never ask again." Coach Rodriguez looked around at her team, seeing the mixture of disbelief and curiosity on their faces. She had always prided herself on giving every student a fair shot, but this was unlike anything she'd encountered in her coaching career. "Maya, even if I wanted to consider this, the school district has policies." "I've already spoken with Principal Morrison and the district office," Maya interrupted. "As long as I have proper medical clearance and modified equipment when necessary, there's no rule preventing me from trying out. I have all the paperwork." The silence stretched uncomfortably long. Finally, Coach Rodriguez sighed. "All right, Maya. You can practice with us for 2 weeks. But understand that if you make the team, you'll be held to the same standards as everyone else. No exceptions." Jessica's expression darkened. "Coach, this is insane. We're not running a feel-good movie here. This is serious competition." "Then let's see what Maya can do before we judge," Coach Rodriguez replied firmly. "Practice starts at 6 a.m. sharp tomorrow. Maya, you'll need proper athletic wear and someone to drive you here early." As the team dispersed, Maya could hear the whispered conversations continuing around her. Most were skeptical, some were cruel, but a few voices carried notes of curiosity and even respect. "Maya," a soft voice approached her. "I'm Emma Williams. I play point guard." Maya recognized the voice of the junior who rarely spoke during practice but was known for her precise passes. "I think what you're doing is brave." "Thank you," Maya replied, surprised by the genuine warmth in Emma's tone. "For what it's worth, I hope you prove them all wrong." That evening, Maya sat in her grandmother's small but cozy kitchen, the smell of homemade dumplings filling the air. Her grandmother, Li Chen, had immigrated from Taiwan 50 years ago and possessed a quiet strength that had carried their family through countless challenges. "You sure about this, Maya?" her grandmother asked in accented English, her weathered hands continuing to fold dumplings with practiced precision. "Those girls, They not understand what you can do. I have to try, nai, Maya replied, using the Mandarin term for grandmother. I've been playing basketball in my mind for 6 years. I know every play, every strategy. I just need a chance to show them. Her grandmother nodded slowly. Your mother, she always say you have fire inside. Maybe now is time to let that fire burn bright. Later that night, Maya lay in bed listening to audio recordings of basketball games, analyzing the sounds and patterns that had become her language. The squeak of shoes during defensive slides, the different acoustic signatures of shots from various positions, the subtle audio cues that revealed player positioning and momentum. She had 2 weeks to prove that basketball wasn't just about what you could see. It was about what you could understand, anticipate, and feel. Tomorrow would be the first step in either proving her critics wrong or confirming their doubts. As sleep finally approached, Maya whispered a promise to herself and to the memory of her parents: I won't let anyone's limitations become mine. The next morning arrived with a biting Colorado wind that rattled the windows of Lincoln High School. Maya stood outside the gymnasium at 5:45 a.m., her grandmother's car disappearing into the pre-dawn darkness. She could hear voices and the familiar sounds of basketballs bouncing inside, but her usual confidence wavered as she approached the heavy double doors. Well, look who actually showed up, Jessica's voice cut through the morning air as Maya entered the gym. I figured you'd come to your senses overnight. Maya ignored the comment and made her way to the bleachers to change into her practice gear. She had spent hours the night before with her grandmother, carefully organizing her athletic bag so she could find everything quickly and efficiently. Coach Rodriguez's whistle pierced the air. All right, ladies, let's start with warm-up laps. Maya, you'll run with Emma as your guide. I don't need a guide for running laps, Maya said quietly. Just tell me how many laps and I'll follow the sound of everyone else's footsteps. The team began their run, and Maya found her rhythm quickly. Her years of track and field had taught her to maintain pace by sound and feel. She stayed in the middle of the pack, her breathing steady and controlled. Not bad, muttered Aisha Thompson, a senior forward known for her rebounding skills. Girls got endurance. After warm-ups, Coach Rodriguez announced they would work on basic ball handling drills. Maya, I've modified a basketball with small bells inside, courtesy of the adaptive sports program downtown. Let's see how you handle dribbling exercises. The modified ball felt slightly heavier than a regular basketball, but the gentle chiming sound it made as it bounced gave Maya immediate feedback about its position and trajectory. She started with simple stationary dribbling, then progressed to dribbling while walking. Okay, that's actually kind of impressive, admitted Sarah Kim, a sophomore shooting guard. But dribbling in place is way different from game situations. You're right, Maya agreed. That's why I need to practice in realistic conditions. Coach Rodriguez set up a series of cones for a dribbling drill. Maya, Emma will call out directions to help you navigate around the obstacles. Coach, could I try it first without directions? Maya asked. I'd like to see if I can use the sound of the ball bouncing off the cones to navigate. Several players exchanged glances. Jessica rolled her eyes. This is getting ridiculous. She's going to hurt herself or someone else. Let her try, Coach Rodriguez decided. But if it looks dangerous, we stop immediately. Maya began dribbling toward the first cone, listening intently to how the sound of the ball changed as it approached obstacles. The acoustic feedback was subtle but noticeable. The sound became slightly more focused and echoed differently when bouncing near solid objects. She successfully navigated around the first 2 cones, her movements cautious but determined. On the third cone, she misjudged the distance and clipped it with her shoulder, sending it clattering across the gym floor. That's enough, Jessica said firmly. This is exactly what I was worried about. You can't play basketball by sound alone. Maya retrieved the fallen cone, her cheeks burning with embarrassment. You're right. I can't do everything by sound alone. But I wasn't trying to prove I could play exactly like everyone else. I was trying to show that I can contribute in ways that might be different but still valuable. How? Challenged Jessica. In a real game, there's no time for careful listening and navigation. Players are moving fast, the crowd is screaming, and decisions have to be made in split seconds. Maya nodded slowly. You're absolutely right about game conditions being different. But let me ask you something. How do you know when someone's going to try to steal the ball from behind? I listen for their footsteps and feel the change in air pressure, Jessica admitted reluctantly. And how do you know when your teammate is open for a pass in your peripheral vision? I sense their movement and positioning, Jessica replied, beginning to understand where Maya was leading. Those are the same skills I've been developing my entire life, just more intensely, Maya explained. I might not be able to shoot from the three-point line or guard someone in a fast break, but I might be able to hear things that others miss. I might be able to call out screens before anyone sees them coming, or anticipate plays based on sound patterns. Coach Rodriguez had been listening intently. What kind of things do you hear that others might miss? Maya closed her eyes in concentration. Right now, I can tell that Emma is favoring her left ankle. There's a slight difference in her weight distribution when she walks. Aisha has been clearing her throat more than usual, which might mean she's getting a cold that could affect her stamina. And Jessica's been bouncing the ball with more force than necessary, which usually indicates frustration or nervousness. The gym fell quiet as each player unconsciously checked their own physical state, realizing that Maya's observations were accurate. That's actually pretty useful information, admitted Coach Rodriguez. But Maya, basketball isn't just about observation. There are physical demands that I'm not sure you can meet safely. I know, Maya replied. That's why I'm not asking to be a starter or even to play significant minutes. I'm asking to be part of the team in whatever capacity I can contribute. Maybe that's as a practice player who can challenge everyone to communicate better. Maybe it's as someone who can analyze opposing teams' audio patterns from game footage. Maybe it's just as someone who never gives up and reminds everyone else to fight through their own limitations. Emma stepped forward. I think she should get a real chance. Maya, what if we worked on some two-person drills? I could be your eyes for positioning while you focus on everything else. That could work, Maya said gratefully. In fact, I've been studying audio from games, and I think I've identified some patterns in how teams communicate their plays. Maybe I could help with scouting reports. Coach Rodriguez looked around at her team, gauging their reactions. The skepticism was still there, but it was mixed with genuine curiosity and, in some cases, growing respect. All right, the coach decided. Let's try some controlled scrimmage situations. Maya, you'll play with Emma as your primary communication partner. Everyone else, I want you to pay attention to what Maya brings to the court that might be different from what you're used to. During the scrimmage, Maya's limitations were obvious. She couldn't react quickly to visual cues, and her shooting was inconsistent without being able to see the basket. But her contributions were also becoming apparent. She called out a screen that no one else had noticed, anticipated a pass based on the sound of shuffling feet, and made several assists to Emma based on her acute sense of spatial positioning. Time out, called Jessica after Maya had successfully intercepted a pass by anticipating the throwing player's pattern. How did you know that pass was coming? The player kept tapping her foot twice before each pass, Maya explained. It's probably unconscious, but once I noticed the pattern, I could predict when she was about to throw. The revelation sent murmurs through both teams. Players began realizing how many unconscious habits they had that could be detected and exploited by someone with heightened auditory awareness. As practice ended, Coach Rodriguez pulled Maya aside. You've given me a lot to think about. Your approach is unlike anything I've seen, and while there are obvious challenges, there might be real value in what you bring. Keep working, and we'll see where this goes. Walking to her grandmother's car after practice, Maya felt a mixture of exhaustion and hope. Emma caught up with her in the parking lot. Maya, I wanted to tell you something, Emma said. I've been playing basketball for 8 years, and today was the first time I really listened to the game instead of just watching it. You made me realize how much I've been missing. Thank you for being willing to work with me, Maya replied. I know this isn't easy for anyone. Maybe that's exactly why it's worth doing, Emma responded. That evening, Maya and her grandmother sat together reviewing audio recordings of Lincoln High's previous games. Maya was identifying patterns and tendencies that could be useful for future strategies, while her grandmother quietly marveled at her granddaughter's determination. You know, Maya, her grandmother said as they worked, sometimes the biggest victory is not proving others wrong, but proving to yourself that you belong exactly where you are. Maya smiled, feeling the truth of those words settle into her heart. She still had one more week to prove herself, but for the first time since starting this journey, she felt like she might actually have a chance. 1 week later, the team dynamics had shifted in ways no one had anticipated. Maya's presence had forced everyone to communicate more clearly, listen more carefully, and think more strategically about every aspect of their game. Even Jessica, though still skeptical about Maya's game-time capabilities, had begun incorporating some of Maya's auditory observations into her own leadership style. The morning of the final practice, before Coach Rodriguez would make her decision about Maya's place on the team, the gymnasium buzzed with nervous energy. Regional playoffs were just 3 weeks away, and every roster decision carried weight. "All right, team," Coach Rodriguez announced. "Today we're scrimmaging against the JV squad, and I want to see everything you've learned this week. Maya, you're starting at point guard alongside Emma." Jessica's head snapped up. "Coach, with all due respect, this is a crucial practice game. Shouldn't our most experienced players be starting?" "Jessica, you'll be starting as well, at shooting guard. Consider this an opportunity to see how different leadership styles can work together." As the scrimmage began, Maya found herself in the unfamiliar position of being responsible for orchestrating the team's offense. Emma stayed close, providing visual information, while Maya used her enhanced auditory skills to read the defense and call plays. 3 minutes into the game, Maya made her first significant contribution. She heard the subtle change in breathing pattern from the JV team center that indicated an impending steal attempt, and quickly warned Emma to protect the ball. "Nice call," Emma whispered as they set up for the next play. "Their number 12 is about to set a screen on Jessica," Maya called out, having detected the preparatory footsteps and positioning. "Jess, switch left." Jessica executed the switch perfectly, avoiding what would have been a difficult defensive situation. As she jogged back into position, she glanced at Maya with something approaching respect. The game continued with Maya serving as an unexpected defensive coordinator, calling out screens, picks, and movement patterns that others missed in the visual chaos of the game. Her shooting remained inconsistent, but her court vision, or rather, court hearing, was becoming invaluable. With 2 minutes left in the scrimmage and the varsity team down by 3 points, Maya intercepted a pass by recognizing the same foot-tapping pattern she had identified a week earlier. Instead of trying to score herself, she immediately passed to Aisha, who was in perfect position for an easy layup. "How did you know I was there?" Aisha asked during the next timeout. "Your breathing changes when you're in good scoring position," Maya explained. "You get more focused, more controlled. I can hear the difference." Coach Rodriguez used the timeout to make a strategic adjustment. "Maya, I want you to continue calling out defensive patterns, but I also want you to start directing our offensive flow based on what you're hearing from their defense." The final 2 minutes of the scrimmage showcased something remarkable. Maya began narrating the defensive setup in real time, allowing her teammates to anticipate and counter every move. The varsity team scored 8 straight points, winning the scrimmage decisively. As the teams gathered at center court for Coach Rodriguez's final comments, Maya felt the nervous energy that had sustained her for 2 weeks beginning to ebb, replaced by exhaustion and uncertainty. "Before I address the team," Coach Rodriguez announced, "I want to share something with all of you. This morning, I received a call from Coach Williams at Denver University. He had heard about our unique practice situation and wanted to observe today's scrimmage." Maya felt her stomach drop. Having a college coach witness her unconventional approach felt simultaneously like an opportunity and a potential source of embarrassment. "Coach Williams was impressed," Rodriguez continued, "not just with Maya's individual contribution, but with how our entire team's communication and awareness had improved over the past 2 weeks. He asked me to pass along his observation that some of the most effective players he's coached weren't necessarily the most talented, but were the ones who made everyone around them better." The gymnasium was completely silent now, with all eyes focused on Coach Rodriguez. "Maya," the coach said, turning to face her directly, "you've challenged every assumption I had about what it means to be part of a basketball team. You've made your teammates better players and better communicators. You've shown me that leadership isn't always about being the strongest or the fastest. Sometimes it's about seeing things others miss and helping them see it too." Maya's heart was pounding so hard she was sure everyone could hear it. "However," Coach Rodriguez continued, "I still have concerns about your safety in game situations, and I have to consider what's best for the team as we head into regionals." The pause felt eternal. "Which is why I'm offering you a position as team captain alongside Jessica." The words hit Maya like a physical force. Around her, she heard sharp intakes of breath from her teammates and the sound of someone dropping a water bottle. "Coach," Jessica protested, "I've been captain for 2 years. Maya hasn't even officially made the team yet." "Jessica, you'll remain as on-court captain and primary starter. Maya will serve as strategic captain, responsible for scouting reports, defensive analysis, and in-game coaching from the bench. Both roles are essential, and both require the kind of leadership you've each demonstrated." Maya found her voice, though it came out smaller than she intended. "Coach, I don't know what to say." "Say you'll accept the responsibility," Coach Rodriguez replied. "Because this team needs both of your strengths if we're going to make a real run at the state championship." Emma was the first to break the stunned silence. "I think it's perfect. Maya, you've already been leading us in ways we didn't even realize." Aisha nodded in agreement. "You made us all better players. That's what captains do." Sarah stepped forward. "I have to admit, I thought this was crazy 2 weeks ago. But you've earned this." All eyes turned to Jessica, whose response would set the tone for how the team moved forward. The silence stretched uncomfortably as she processed this unexpected development. Finally, Jessica walked over to Maya and extended her hand. "I still think you're crazy," she said with a slight smile, "but you're our kind of crazy. If you can handle being responsible for keeping all of us focused and strategic, then welcome to the leadership team, Captain Chen." Maya shook Jessica's hand, feeling the callous palm of a dedicated athlete and the firm grip of someone who had decided to trust her. "There's one more thing," Coach Rodriguez added. "Maya, you'll also dress for games and be available for specific strategic situations where your unique skills might be needed. You've earned the right to be a full member of this team." That evening, Maya sat in her grandmother's kitchen, the captain's armband that Coach Rodriguez had given her resting on the table between them. Her grandmother prepared tea in comfortable silence, allowing Maya to process the day's events. Maya finally said, "I never imagined it would happen like this. I thought being captain meant being the best player, the strongest, the fastest." Her grandmother poured the tea and sat down across from Maya. "In Taiwan, we have saying, the best leaders are not those who do everything themselves, but those who help others do things they never knew they could do." Maya nodded, understanding the wisdom in those words. "I was so focused on proving I could play like everyone else that I almost missed what I could actually offer." "And what is that?" her grandmother asked. Maya considered the question carefully. I think I can help people hear things they've been missing. Not just in basketball, but maybe in life too. I can help them pay attention to the details that make the difference between good and great." Her grandmother smiled. "Now you understand what real leadership is." Later that night, Maya received a text from Emma. "Captain Chen, tomorrow we start preparing for regionals. Ready to lead us to state?" Maya smiled as she typed back, "Ready to help us get there together." As she prepared for bed, Maya realized that her journey hadn't been about overcoming her blindness or proving that disability couldn't stop her. It had been about discovering that true leadership comes from recognizing and developing the strengths that make each person unique, and then finding ways to combine those strengths into something greater than any individual could achieve alone. The girl who had been laughed at for dreaming of leadership had become a captain not by conforming to others' expectations, but by showing them a completely different way to think about what leadership could look like. Tomorrow would bring new challenges as they prepared for the regional playoffs, but tonight, Maya Chen fell asleep knowing she had found her place, not despite her differences, but because of them.